We, excuse me, we respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cùng đến nơi được tận thịnh, vì thứ pháp hội cấp nhất thiết chúng sanh. Tịnh chuyên diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như há liêu sanh thoát từ ly khổ đắc lạc, tốc chứng vô sanh. Homage of the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sa Đàn Thờ Sư Chế Đô Ye Ơ La Hờ Đi San Miao San Pu Tô Xie. Nam mô Ta Đắc Tha Tô Già Đa Gia A La Ha Đế Tam Miệu Tam Bồ Đà Tọa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I am able to see and hear, I will receive it, maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa ba hi qian wan jie nan zao yu. 我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master Ching Liang, Great Master YongHua, all monks and nuns and all good advisors, Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、精良大士、师父上人、各位出家人、各位上智士，弥陀佛。Chư Phật Bồ Tát, kính thưa Thánh Lương Quốc sư, Thượng Tiên Hóa, quý thầy cô, cả vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Hello everyone, thank you all for coming. Today is the 18th of February. We are here to continue discussing the prologue to the Avatamsaka Sutra. We are right now discussing the 10 bodies of the sutra, of the Buddha, and the last one, the wisdom body. Buddhas have 10 bodies. It's specific to him only, meaning only Buddhas have these 10 bodies. And they're very peculiar. Only Buddha are so distinctive. These 10 bodies are nothing like no one else's, including the wisdom body. Wisdom body meaning the wisdom of the Buddha. That's where you find the highest level of wisdom available. And the wisdom here can be broken down into 4 categories. The great perfect mirror wisdom, the equanimity wisdom, the wonderful observing wisdom, and finally the accomplishing what is done wisdom. So those are the 4 wisdoms that the Buddhas have. So for example, perfect mirror wisdom, let's go back and make sure these are very important concepts. We also have these wisdoms once you become enlightened, but they're not as perfected as the Buddhas. Okay, so as you go into the enlightenment range, first ground bodhisattva to higher, you naturally develop these 4 wisdoms, and these 4 wisdoms will vary differently depending on your level. So meaning, for example, at any level of enlightenment, the bodhisattvas are able to have these 4 types of wisdom. For example, they all have the perfect mirror wisdom, meaning they're able to reflect reality. They don't massage it like we do, okay? So the Bodhisattva also can do that, but the Buddha is perfect as far as that goes. It has the Buddha's this perfect mirror wisdom, meaning that he can reflect everything. He can feed it back to you 100% accurately without any interference, any addition, any subtraction. Whereas when we confuse people, when we ask, for example, we look at ourselves in the mirror, okay? Then that itself, that our own observation is being distorted already. Even though it's a perfect mirror, you have a perfect mirror right there from the furniture store. When you look at the mirror yourself, okay, whatever you perceive actually distorted by your own ego. It says, oh, my lips are too thin. I like my lips to be as thick as Angelina Jolie's. Anyone? Huh? Or my hair is too thin. I like them to be thicker. So what happens is your ego distorts it. Same thing. When you see things, okay, your ego distorts it. Says, I don't like you. You are. You look scary, okay, or you're too short, that kind of thing. So it's your ego that distorts things. That's why we're not able to perceive things accurately. We cannot see the so-called truth, if you will. Whereas the enlightened beings, they're able to see that, okay, because there's no distortion whatsoever. So the important point here is, if you cannot see it accurately, you cannot solve the problem. Think about it. You cannot see what the problem is. How can you solve it possibly? And this is the nature of confusion. Confusion is such that we cannot see what the problem is. We cannot see what our problems are. Even though when others who are enlightened people tell us about our problems, we don't believe it. We don't buy into it. Okay? For example, very practical. Let's say you are Catholic and your entire life you've been brainwashed into believing that you should go be near God. Okay? That's the best thing possible for you. Therefore, because of that beliefs, when we tell you that, wait a minute, you can be better than that. Why do you settle with something close, not even close to your own potential? You won't believe it. You will say, no, it's sacrilegious. You are blasphemy. What you're saying is blasphemy. Okay, and you reject it. And that's the nature of confusion. It's because of that confusion, we cannot solve our own problems. We cannot get out of this mess. We know we're suffering, for example, we cannot solve it. Okay? And that's the human condition. We know We're falling short. There's not much we can do. We don't know what else to do. Case in point, a lot of young people, they're depressed. What are they going to do? They can't do anything. Okay? You go see a therapist, they give you drugs. They drug you up, okay? Or they lock you up. And that's it. That's the only thing they can do, okay? So that's why, that's because the people who help us solve problems don't understand the true nature of the problems. So that's why the perfect mirror wisdom here is very important. Unless you have this wisdom here that's able to perceive things accurately, 100% accurate, no addition, no subtraction, then, only then can you learn how to solve your problems. Because if you cannot see your problems, you might end up solving the wrong problems. Okay? It's nowhere near what the problem is. So for example, the therapist, they cannot see what the real problem is behind, for example, depression. Depression is caused by a depression ghost. So if you cannot see the real cause behind depression and you you prescribe medication and so forth, you can't solve the problem because medication can go so far and then that's what they're finding out. They're finding out that some medications stop working after a while because it no longer works. You cannot, because they cannot see that medicine is not effective against the ghosts long term. Okay? So right there, you see, unless you see your problems, you cannot solve it. You cannot get out of your predicament of your suffering. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they have this perfect mirror wisdom. That's why they can see what the problem is. If they can't see it, someone tells them, hey, listen, you have this problem, and chances are that they have a chance to see it themselves, understand it. Whereas us unenlightened people, we won't buy it, we won't believe it. That's the difference between us and enlightened people. Is it clear? They have this perfect mirror wisdom that enables them to be able to perceive things properly or learn or buy into it themselves. We can't. We won't be able to see it because we don't have this wisdom. So this wisdom is very critical for our own well-being when you think about it. That's why it ranks first. What else is more important than your own well-being, your own health, physical and mental and spiritual? Money is not going to help solve all your problems. Is that clear? So this perfect mirror wisdom here is what the Buddha has. There's nothing he does not see. You cannot fool the Buddha at all. You can see what the real problem is. All right? Next thing. The wisdom of equanimity. Bodhisattvas and Buddhas are into one business only, is to help living beings. That's what they do for a living. They do nothing else but help living beings day and night. Case in point, I don't know about the Buddhas, but I know about one great Bodhisattva called Master YongHua. When you look at history, I looked at history, the stories his disciples told me about him. His entire life, especially since he came here, is every single waking moment is to help everyone else. That's a work of Bodhisattva right there. That's the mindset. They help people. Is that clear? That's what they do. It's nothing else that interests them except helping others. Now, if you're in the business helping others, one thing that's required of you is to have equanimity. You cannot discriminate people. You cannot discriminate against poor people. You cannot discriminate against women. You cannot discriminate against men. You cannot discriminate against children. You have to look at all living beings equally. That's a requirement. Unless you have such a wisdom of equanimity, what happens? What happens if you don't? Anyone ever thought of that? Suppose you have preferential treatment. You prefer this person over the other person. You prefer dogs over cats. Anyone? I like dogs. I don't like cats. Yes, I'm guilty of it. Okay? It's not my fault. When I was in a French high school, one of the French professor I really looked up to, he says, I hate cats! And ever since, it's stuck in my mind. I hate cats. I cannot get rid of it. Some cats are nice, like Sinan's prior cat. It's nice. I like him. Mr. whatever his name is. But I can never overcome my aversion to cats because of that, that French root. Okay? So that's what happens. When you have discrimination in your mind, what happens? Huh? What's the problem when you discriminate? Anyone? You all have that problem. You say, hey, what's a big deal? I discriminate. That's what I do. Yes, 6. Six, yeah, turn it on. Yeah. You can't see things clearly, she says. So what? You can't see things clearly. No, that's a perfect mirror wisdom. You can't see things clearly. That's a perfect mirror wisdom. This equanimity is different. What is the problem when your mind has discrimination? Go ahead, Jewel Mountain Temple. These distinctions are very, very precise. Go ahead.
헬로 마스터. 제가 대답하려고 했는데 어떤 분께서 대답을 이미 하셨고 제가 대답이 틀렸습니다. 제가 제가 대원경지 상욱스님 다시 말씀드릴게요. 제가 대답하려고 했던 그 똑같은 대답이 위산사에서 나왔고 저의 대답은 틀렸습니다. 저의 대답은 대원경지에 대한 답이었습니다. 죄송합니다.
Somebody already told my answer, and my answer was wrong.
She said so much, and the translation only one sentence. Again.
She wasn't trying to answer the mirror. What is that?
So what was she saying?
He was trying to the first category, the first wisdom.
The wisdom, the perfect mirror wisdom.
Yes.
Okay. And what did she say about perfect mirror wisdom? You have to translate. You don't say, hey, it's not about equanimity wisdom. Forget it. You just translate. Sangwuk-sunim. Like that too. What I just said, you translate that too.
So her answer, somebody already told the answer in the Way Mountain. And then she said that it was wrong.
Okay, fine. She said that answer is for the first wisdom, not for second wisdom. That's correct. Yes, is there one comment here in Way Mountain, number 9?
Master, there's a tent at the back of the Jewel Mountain Temple. Are they camping at the Jewel Mountain Temple?
What?
There was a tent at Jewel Mountain Temple.
A tent?
Right there.
What it has to do with the wisdom? That's why we lock up people who need to go to USA and need to pass a PCR test. Did you know Koreans, finally the last Korean who came here for the Chanchis are now tested negative after like 20 tests. PCR test, we fail after day after day after day. And finally, you know what she did? We talked to a doctor and she says, stick that thing up the nose and clean it before you go and test. Okay? And she did. And she passed. No symptom whatsoever. Anyway, so we can't lock her up anymore. She's on her way back. Anyway, okay, so what happened is if you don't have impartiality in your mind, what happens is that two things are very bad. Number one is that people will lose faith in you. They said, Master doesn't like me. And they sad, they leave. They say, no, and therefore you cannot help them anymore. Okay? So that's what happens. If you don't treat people fairly, they will lose faith in you. They will lose faith in Buddhism. Therefore, you have to treat everyone equally. Give everyone equal chances. Is that clear? You cannot have favoritism. You cannot favor your children over anyone else. You cannot favor your relatives, your friends over anyone else. You have to treat everyone else equally. Okay? So that everyone has an equal chance to be helped by you. You can help everyone equally to the best of your ability because they need to feel that you're fair to them. Otherwise, they will not believe you anymore. They would not believe in your Buddhism anymore. So that's why this is very important. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they treat everyone equally. There's no favoritism at all. Okay? Is that clear? Yes, too.
Oh, I see Diego said something sort of similar. He said, you won't be able to help them correctly because you have preferences. And Chun said, if you discriminate, you're always plotting to benefit yourself more.
Right, that's part of it. But the main damage is that part of the Bodhisattvas and Buddha's work is, they don't speak about this, is to increase your faith, not decrease it. Everything they do is to help increase your faith. If you badmouth people, you're not increasing the faith. Is that clear? Everything we do must be for the purpose of increasing their faith in Buddhism. So if we are not fair, we treat people unfairly, they will lose faith in Buddhism. Is that clear? That's so important. This is an unspoken rule of thumb in Buddhism. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they help people not for themselves. They help people in order to increase their faith. See, I know, for example, my neighbor here, a block away, is a non-Buddhist person who helps a lot of people. What did they help? They are non-Buddhist people, but they write off Buddhism. They said, I help people because One Yin Bodhisattva ordered me to. Okay? Yeah. So that they are able to help people. Okay? But what happens is that now when they help people, they are helping themselves. They're helping their increase of faith in One Yin Bodhisattva, but not necessarily in Earth-store Bodhisattva, not necessarily in the Buddha. You see? So their help is actually to help themselves and creates problem number 2, offenses. Okay? If your mind is not impartial, your mind is partial, you'll create offenses. That's lack of wisdom. Okay? You make people lose faith in Buddhism, you make people lose faith in your teachers teaching through you. That's an offense. That's not spoken. Okay? So these people who say, Wanyi Bodhisattva helps me, Ersto Bodhisattva helps me, and therefore you don't need to believe in a Buddha, you don't need to believe in Wanyin Bodhisattva, you don't need to believe in Universal Worthy Bodhisattva. So there's preferential treatment, and therefore they're creating offenses. They don't realize that Wanyin helps certain people, Universal Bodhisattva helps certain people, Manjusi helps certain people, Buddhists help certain people. It's not. They all have their own specialities. Okay? It's not the same. And because so what happened is that the proper help is to help them without any discrimination at all, to increase people's faith. Not in yourself so that you make more money or you become more famous. No. They believe in superior beings who can help them beyond we can help them. Because we limited ourselves. We cannot do everything. We cannot help all the way. So all we do is bridge the gap so for them to get much better help. Okay? And that only happens when their faith increases, not decrease because of us. So if we do things to help to make people reduce the faith, then we're creating offenses. We promote ourselves at the expense of people losing their faith in better beings than us. We are creating offenses. We don't help them at all. Is that clear? So this is a very important distinction. That's why when you help, you have to help equally. You cannot discriminate. Okay? So far, so good? All right. That's the second. The first two wisdoms are very specialized. That they're critical. That's why they're listed number 1, number 2. And then the number 3 wisdom is called Miao Wan Cha. Miao Wan Cha Zhi. That is the wisdom that enables you to be able to do what? You Chinese, you know what it's talking about. You're not Chinese. I feel sorry for you. The Chinese do have an edge over us. They have all these built-in wisdom in their language we don't have. That's why we're behind them. Okay, this Miao Wan Cha Chu here, this wonderful observing wisdom enables you. What happens is this wisdom here is the result of your mind. Okay, your thinking mind. You turn your thinking mind, your discriminating mind into this wisdom. Your discriminating mind, your calculating mind, the one that says, this is more beneficial for me, this is not as beneficial, the discriminating mind there, that's what society rewards us for that. We go to school, we go to college in order to sharpen this analytical, this discriminating mind. And what people don't realize is a form of confusion. Okay? Because the more you're able to discriminate, okay, the more confused you become. Believe it or not. Okay? Why is it so? I've met doctors, I met professors, I met what so-called genius people. They know so much that they think that they're better than you. Worldly knowledge is not the same as wisdom. Knowledge is not wisdom. Okay? The geniuses, the smart people, the intellect are the ones that are so-called because of their discriminating, their intellect, their debating, or their analytical skills. Those are worldly skills. They're not wisdom. They're called because what happened is the stronger those worldly skills are, the more closed-minded they believe. They become, they say, I know more than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm a genius, my IQ is higher than you. Okay? They only believe in themselves, they only believe in their knowledge. But here's a problem. Whatever they know, I've listened to Nobel laureates, I've watched, I've talked, I've debated with geniuses, genius professors, okay? And you know what? They have the same thing in common. They cannot solve the birth and death. Question very simple. You know how to make money. You know how to analyze problems. What about this problem you have? Your death. What are you going to do? What are you doing about your death? They don't know. So they can solve smaller problems if you will, but they cannot solve the big problems, that is their death, what happens to them when they die. They are so proud in their knowledge to help them to be in control of the destiny of their lives. They make money, therefore, I have money, I have security, I have financial security, my future is set, so is my wife's future, so are my children. But the one thing they cannot control is their death. I remember this famous person, his name is Ted Turner. Okay? He's a tycoon, he made a lot of money, and he's very famous. He dated all the beautiful women, okay, married all the beautiful women, and moved heavens and shook the earth. And he's a captain in industries, and he founded CNN and so forth. Again, he did incredible things. And the one thing he said, for all these things, the one thing I value that I cannot do is time. You lose time, you cannot get it back. Meaning that interpretation, translation, he doesn't know what to do about his impending death, his aging, his body is failing him. No matter how smart you are, how genius you are, what are you going to do about your impending death, your inevitable death? You can evade taxes, but you cannot evade your death. Okay, so we spend our entire lives pursuing knowledge to solve worldly issues, but we cannot solve the one biggest problem we have, our own death. What is more important than your own death? Please tell me. Money? You can't bring it with you when you die. How about your health? Your health is connected to your death. Before you die, you usually are sick. When you are sick, you personally are sick. Can you fix it yourself? You can't. Yeah, even you're a doctor, even you're a healer. You can help some people, but your own death, your own sickness, you cannot help. True or not? So you acquire skills to help secondary things, not the most critical things in your life. Why not? It's because you don't know what to do. Your teachers, your parents, your advisors cannot advise you about this issue. What to do about your death? What about, never mind about your death. Okay, you say, I'm young, I have no problem, I have time to worry about that. Let me ask you then, what about your parents? They're not young anymore. What about your grandparents? What about your child who might die young? What are you doing about that? Okay? So that's the problem with worldly people. They're very smart, they have intellect, they are analytical, they're rich, they're powerful, they're famous, but they cannot deal with this problem, most fundamental problem, the death. They cannot solve even problems. Smart people tend to be depressed. Rich people tend to be alcoholic. Did you know that? I know a lot of super rich people. They're alcoholics. They don't like their wives. They know their children are simply waiting to inherit for their inheritance. They don't care. The children don't care for them. Okay? It's very sad. So they're alcoholic, they're depressed. Okay? So that's why it's very careful. You have to be careful about, shooting for intelligence, shooting for smarts, and shooting for becoming a genius, and you become so proud of it that you actually are confused. You are solving the wrong problems, unimportant problems. Okay? With this particular wonderful observing wisdom here, okay, you're able to undo the limitations of your intellect. And what's the advantage of doing that? It's in Chinese right here. Chinese people don't help. Don't say anything. Or Taiwanese people. What's the advantage of turning your intellect into wisdom? Then, this wisdom here, from turning your discriminating mind into the wonderful observing wisdom, is that you're able to explain things clearly. That's why it's called wonderful observing wisdom. You can observe. And you can see things clearly because you are no longer confused by your own intellect. In other words, your own intellect is actually obstructing your view, okay? Your accuracy. Does it make sense or not? If you're a genius and you know what I'm talking about, and you won't believe it. So this wonderful observing wisdom here enables you to accurately describe things out there yourself. Okay? Remember, the first two are internal. Perfect mirror wisdom is that you can see it accurately, 100%. There's no distortion inside here. Equanimity is no distortion inside here. You don't prefer men over women, dogs over cats. Those are confused people, okay, who are like that. This wonderful observing wisdom now turns outside. You shine your wisdom light on the thing, and you're able to see it clearly, without any distortion, without saying, "Oops, that's not logical," okay? Because your mind is with these intellectual people, the mind have favoritism, have distortions. This wonderful observing wisdom here is able to see outside things, external things, accurately. Why is it important? It's beautiful how these four wisdoms are critical in our work, in the Bodhisattva's work. Because unless you see what the problem is, how are you going to solve it? Unless you see what his problem is, how are you going to be able to help him solve his problem? Does it make sense now? Huh? You want to help people, you must be able to see what the problem is that they face with. They come to me very often. People come to me and they talk about their problems. Actually, they don't realize what really is bothering them. Therefore, they're solving the wrong problem. They're seeking the wrong solutions. In order to help them long term, you have to help them see what the real problem is. Instead of groping for symptoms, you need to fix the root cause of the problem. So the wonderful observing wisdom here enables you to penetrate to the root cause of the problem. Without it, you only see superficial aspects of the problem. Does it make sense? Questions or comments? And finally, the fourth wisdom is called accomplishing what must be done, what you wish to do. Okay? This wisdom comes about because you turn your ear consciousness, your eyes consciousness, your nose consciousness, your taste consciousness, your touch consciousness, the remaining 5 sense organs of the remaining 5 consciousness. Remember, the wonderful observing wisdom is from the thinking mind. Okay, that's your mind. That's the number 6 organ. Okay, the first 5 organs, your ears, your eyes, your nose, your tongue, your touch, are the first 5 organs, okay? And therefore, those first 5 sensors are turned to wisdom because your sensors are erratic, are inaccurate. Okay? What you see, okay, is limited. It's not necessarily true at all. It has distortion. Our eye organs have limitations. All right? It has accuracy problems. It's not accurate at all. Our ears is the same thing. Our ears, okay, have limitations, serious limitations. Our nose have serious limitations compared to, let's say, a nose. The specialist in the perfume industry in France. You know, the French are known for the perfumes, and the perfumes are created by what they call a nose. This nose person here has a big, big nose, I think. And he's able to discern 3,000 different types of fragrances. You know that? He can sniff a fragrance. He can distinguish 3,000 different types of smells of fragrances that we can. So his nose is a lot more acute than us. But guess what? It's still not as acute as whose nose? Quickly, come on. Huh? Oh, you're boring. No. What? Yeah. Who said that? Oh, good girl. A dog. The dog's nose is even more accurate than our own nose. It can smell corpses that's buried 6 feet underground. You know that? He can smell marijuana that's buried deep into our luggage. I don't know how important that is, but it shows you how keen the sense of smell is. The dog's nose is so much more sensitive than ours. You see that? It's still limited. Okay? So that's what happens. Those sense organs we have, the ears, the nose, the tongues, and so forth, okay, they have limitations. And that's why when you turn those consciousnesses into wisdom, okay, it's called accomplishing what is done wisdom. Meaning what? You have this wisdom, you can create fragrances better than the nose, the French noses. You can smell marijuana much better than the Customs and Borders Patrol dogs. Okay, if you wish to. So you develop these abilities if you wish to. So that's why you can accomplish what is done. Meaning that when you set your mind to it, this wisdom is very important. This is, to me, personally, is one of the important contributions from the Buddhists to the world. If you become enlightened, you can set your mind to do something. Nothing can stop you. Nothing. And that's how you put your mark in the world, contributing truly to the world instead of wishful thinking. That's how we as cultivators, we as Buddhists, can make advancements in human knowledge. Okay? This is how we contribute to our society, that society can observe, can benefit from it, will appreciate it. Whereas the first three, even including number 3, wisdom, where you wonderful observing wisdom, is not necessarily as appreciated as here, where you can accomplish whatever you do. Meaning, as you become enlightened, after you become enlightened, you said, okay, now I wish to advance the medical field. Go into research about how to fix this breast cancer issue, the pancreas cancer issue, the leukemia or blood cancer issue. And that's, for this particular wisdom, will enable you to make big advancements, whether it's in engineering, whether it's medical science, whether it's philosophy, whatever you wish, you put your mind to, you will be able to accomplish and make advancements. And that's how we, as Buddhists, contribute to our societies. Truly, not just wishful thinking. So that's what happened to Master Xinhua. This is from what I heard. Master Xinhua, my late Chinese teacher, he says, I've been to this world. I've been to China so many times. At one time, I contributed to this field. The other time, I contributed to that field. One time, I built more temples. One time, I was a diviner. Okay, one time, I contributed to this physiognomy. The Chinese physiognomy skill, science there is far more advanced than the Western physiognomy. Because of these bodhisattvas came to China and they made the advancement, they made the contributions. Okay, on a very small scale, okay, even at the low level enlightenment of the 4th stage Arhat, which is much lower than bodhisattva's level enlightenment, they're able to observe the chi moving in the body. That's what enables them to contribute to Eastern medicine. So far, so good. So if you guys have ambitions about contributing to the world, whatever topic, whatever field you want to go into it, I highly urge you to become enlightened. Then you will naturally have this wisdom called accomplishing what is done, what must be done, wisdom, which enables you to make huge advancements. in whatever field you choose. I'm talking about big-time advancements. Sounds good? Now, to me, this is a real challenge. If you want to have big contributions to humanity, this is what you should do. Become enlightened, and then specialize. Go do your things. Is that clear? Otherwise, without this accomplishing what must be done here, what is done here, your accomplishment is very, very shallow. It's not significant at all. And that's why the major advancements in Chinese culture are from the bodhisattvas appearing in China. Okay? They're very sophisticated. All right, any questions or comments? (148). So those are the 10 bodies of the Buddha, only peculiar to the Buddhas. Text. Their characteristics are vastly made manifest as is described in 8th ground in a chapter on leaving the world.
广显其相，如第八地及离世间品变。
Let's continue, and please don't worry about trying to understand everything. I don't, and I don't think anyone, because you could spend your entire life learning about investigating his prologue. You won't be able to understand it anyway. So what we do is we share, we try to listen to it, to plant the Vajra seeds of wisdom, okay, ultimate wisdom in Buddhism, and we try to understand as much as we can, okay? Don't be paranoid and say, don't try to understand. This process here is, number one, plant the seeds of ultimate wisdom. Number two, try to help you connect it to some kind of understanding so that you can use it right now, this wisdom. But understanding, for you to try to understand, for me to understand it totally is not possible until you become a Buddha. Okay? But you have to get started somewhere. And this is right now, okay? So he says, all this information we described so far in the prologue actually will be described clearly on the chapter on the 8th ground, the grounds bodhisattva. They talk about the grounds. The chapter talks about the 10 grounds, and the chapter on leaving the world. All right? 150. In discussing the non-obstruction in general, there are 10 meanings.
言无碍者，略有实义。
Okay. In the Avatamsaka Dharma, this concept called non-obstruction. Okay? Meaning that just because it's so, it does not obstruct its negative, its opposite. Just because you're good doesn't mean you cannot be bad. Just because you're evil doesn't mean you cannot do good. So being evil does not obstruct you from doing good. Being good does not obstruct you from doing evil. So that's why non-obstruction. That's why it's called the middle way. No such a thing as one obstructing the other. It's always non-obstruction concept. Okay? What you have does not obstruct you from losing it, from not having it. Okay? If you will, there is a woman in a man, and vice versa, there's a man in a woman. So being a woman does not obstruct you from being masculine. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Never mind. Not funny. Okay, so when you talk about non-obstruction, there are 10 aspects of non-obstruction, it says here in this prologue. 152. 1. Functionings are universal and non-obstructive. That is, in the above places, thoughts, kalpas, kshetras, dust motes, and so forth.
一用周无碍，位于上念结刹成等处。
All right. 153, commentary. The first type of non-obstruction is that functionings or uses are universal and non-obstructive. Okay. In particular, this is where it's nice to have Master YongHua, who is one of the rare masters alive in our time who would dare comment and elaborate on this Avatamsaka Dharma, because his level is extremely high. Okay, his level is so high, he's able to understand these concepts. Whereas the prior patriarchs in Chinese Mahayana, they would not dare touch the Avatamsaka Sutra. Okay, because when you talk about this Avatamsaka Dharma, you may regurgitate, say the same thing as you read, but to the learned ears, they could tell that you don't know what you're talking about. That's why the true patriarchs would not dare touch us. Master Xu Yun would not dare touch us. His level is too low to understand the Avatamsaka Dharma. Even though he's the 8th-round Bodhisattva, it's too low to understand it. Forget it. Okay? That's why in the history of Chinese Buddhism, very few Mahayana patriarchs would dare discuss it. I don't know any patriarch until Master YongHua came along. It's easy to talk about Chan, to talk about Pure Land, but when you talk about Avatamsaka Dharma, it is, you reveal your stupidity, you reveal your inadequacies, if you will. And that's why it's best not to talk about it. That's why most patriarchs refuse. They stay away from it. Xu talked about Chan, talked about Pure Land, would not dare touch Avatamsaka Dharma. And it's the 8th ground Bodhisattva, mind you. That tells you that how high, much higher Master YongHua is. Okay? Anyway, so Master YongHua explains here. He says, okay, and this is a real treat for us to be able to have him explain this, because otherwise it's very difficult for us to understand this or absorb this. So his explanations are designed to help us begin to appreciate what this Dharma is about and help us plant those superior seeds, Mahayana seeds. Okay? So that in the future, your level of wisdom is that of Avatamsaka wisdom, not just low-level wisdom. It's a gift from him. And we should appreciate it. He says, function non-obstructive, meaning what you do, functions what you do, your karmas, okay? And your various karmas you create are non-obstructive, meaning that one thought, okay, spans 10,000 kalpas and vice versa. This is a very interesting concept. Never mind, but one thought spans 10,000 kalpas. That's a long, long time. One kalpa is 16 million years or more. Okay, it's a long, long time. Okay, one thought can last that long. Okay, so what does it mean? One thought can last 10,000 kalpas, 100,000 kalpas, 1 million kalpas, and so forth. You know, the 10,000 here means that it's a long, long time. And kalpa is even a very long, long denomination, a long time unit as well. So it's a very, very long, long time. Okay, and therefore, this meaning that a thought is a concept. A thought, supposedly to us, a thought is very short duration. Remember, one thought is very short. Okay, meaning that I love you. That's one thought. It's very short. Meaning you change your mind, you will no longer the love thought will die. Or, for that matter, thoughts of hate. I hate you. That too will die. Okay? So one thought here is very, very short. And yet, a thought here, a short thought, can span 10,000 kalpas. Can span that long. A very short thing can be very long. So that's why short does not obstruct long. Long does not obstruct short. Give me an example of that. How can you say one thought is short, but it spans 10,000 kalpas? Go ahead. Give her a microphone. Six.
I realize if you don't see through the dot and you can't let go, and so you're attached to it, so it can last for a while until you see through it.
Very good. But what about 10,000 kalpas?
You haven't seen through it for 10,000 kalpas.
Very good. For example, can you give me one example of thought that you cannot drop?
I remember when I was working, I was an international business major. And my boss was an engineer, a professional engineer. And he told me to go get my master's degree in civil engineering. So I went to speak to the counselor, and he basically said, you don't qualify. And he compared me to the international students. He said, for the GMAT, they ace. And he asked, how come I couldn't ace it if I grew up here? And I felt insulted, so I carried that thought with me. Like, I wasn't happy with what he said. And then one time I went to speak to a counselor, and I shared this experience with her. And she said, what he said is true. You don't like to memorize things, so of course you cannot remember the words for the GMAT. And because she said that, and it helped me connect to myself more, I was able to let go of that thought, and I was free from it. But I carried that thought for 3 years.
Yeah, it's called psychological scars. Very good. Another example, easier for you to understand. Okay, for her, she's kind of different. Okay, but one thing that I would tell you, this is very commonplace, is a thought of love. Have you considered, have you thought about that? When you say, I love you, okay, that thought doesn't die. Did you know that? It doesn't die. So you carry that thought in your heart. I say, I love you, it's in your heart. And you keep on having this thought. Okay? And that's why the next time you see each other, you love each other again. You love her again. Doesn't matter how ugly she is. You say, oh, I love her to death. Doesn't matter how mean she is. You say, oh, she's so adorable. Or he is. That love there, that love of thought, that thought of love, Love is just a thought. Okay? That the thought of love will last kalpas. That's why it's not uncommon. For example, in the Shrangma Sutra, Ananda met with Matangi's daughter. Know that anecdote? Matangi is an externalist, and her daughter was madly in love with Ananda when she first took a look at Ananda walking down the street. Again, Ananda is very handsome, tall, handsome, and very attractive, okay, because he looks very similar to the Buddha. Buddha is very handsome for some reason, okay? So she fell madly in love with him. And the Buddha later explained to them, he says, you have been husbands and wives for 500 lifetimes. Each lifetime, the love gets deeper and deeper. The thoughts of love get stronger and stronger and stronger. So that thought of love spans lifetimes. And remember, lifetimes here can be in the form of kalpas, because one lifetime you're a man, you're a woman, okay? And then you lose it, you become an animal, you go to the hells for a long, long time, and then you move up again to the human realm and meet each other again, you fall in love again. So between the 2 points of time where you fall in love as human beings, you actually have been wandering for kalpas. Is that clear? It's very hard for us to get a human body again next time. After this lifetime, it's very hard for us to get a human body. So next time we meet each other again and fall in love again, it would have been kalpas already. And what happened between Matangi's daughter and Ananda is that they have this thought of love for each other. That woman, Matangi, has a thought of love for Ananda for kalpas. Thousands and 10,000s of kalpas. The thought of love never died in her. That's why the thought of love is very dangerous. What about another type of thought that also can span kalpas? Yes. 4.
I could have think of an anecdote of the Buddha and that man Devadatta.
Devadatta?
The anger that Devadatta have.
Devadatta, okay. Q&A. Very good.
Thank you, Master. I think he said is the hatred, which is the opposite of love. Probably the
Exactly. If love is that strong, so is hatred. It's just the opposite, that's all. If you love someone that deeply, you can hate someone as deeply as well. This is what the Catholics never were taught. The Catholic says they praise love. Oh, love is beautiful, but so is hate. Hatred is also as powerful as love, by the way. And that's what happened between the Buddha and Devadatta. The Buddha killed Devadatta in a prior life. And for that anger, they said, why did you kill me? The anger is so strong, the hate is so strong. Devadatta spent lifetime after lifetime chasing after the Buddha just to kill the Buddha back. That's it. That's all Devadatta wants. He wants to kill the Buddha to get even. That's it. So that hate, the Devadatta, the Buddha's cousin, okay, spanned millions of kalpas, if you will, not 10,000. We're talking about billions of kalpas. That's how scary it is. Isn't that interesting, Alung? Huh? Love and hate? Okay? Yeah. So that's why one thought here, one thought of love, one thought of hate can span thousands or 10,000s or millions of kalpas. That's a fact. So far, so good? And vice versa, 10,000 kalpas can pass through as short as a thought. Okay? And that's what happens when you enter samadhi. When you enter samadhi, you can sit there for a long, long time, okay? Until you wake up. So that's a span of one thought. That's it. So you can sit there in samadhi for kalpas. Okay? Like Mahakashyapa sits in samadhi right now in the Chicken Foot Mountain in Chungnai in China right now, waiting for Maitreya Bodhisattva to come down so that Mahakashyapa will then present Maitreya Bodhisattva or Buddha Maitreya with the rope and bowl from Shakyamuni Buddha, then Maitreya, and then Mahakashyapa's job will be done. So he sits in samadhi right now with the one thought. He says, I need to wait for Maitreya to come out and present this thing from Shakyamuni Buddha, and then my job is done. So that one thought there is still what drives him to sit in samadhi right now. How's that? So that one thought there is a lot longer than a life in the heavens even. It could be longer. All right? So that's why you can go through a long, long time. And it's about that one thought, okay, can span a long time as well. A long time can just be a one thought. 154. Vairochana Buddha manifests Dharma realms, clouds of bodies with boundless deeds and functionings because of their completely universal pervasion.
遮那佛现法界生云，业用无边，悉周遍故。
Okay, 155. Commentary. Vairochana Buddha here is the Dharma body Buddha, meaning that's the body that's of this universe. So this Vairochana body Buddha, okay, the Dharma body Buddha can manifest anything in this universe. So everything you see in this universe is part of the Buddha, including you, including these sitting cushions, including the young boy right there, including anything you see is part of Vairochana body Buddha. And that's why he says the Dharma realms, clouds of bodies. Whatever you see in this universe is part of Vairochana Buddha's body, including you. Yes, 6.
Thank you, Master. So one thought of the Buddha manifests everything, and that one thought lasts for the whole eternity? I don't know.
No, it's referring to the Buddha. The Buddha doesn't have thoughts. Okay? We're talking about us. Okay? When you become a Buddha, okay, you are the totality of everything. What we're discussing here is our own thoughts. The Bodhisattva's thoughts who are not Buddhas yet. Okay, they can span for a long, long time, or could be very, very short. Okay, that's the nature of our existence. The Buddha is there. I mean, no need to discuss it. Yes, 7. Seven.
Jhana là ý nói cái tánh không. Thì trong cái phẩm Đại Bi Sám nó có nói là chư Phật mười phương ở trong cái tánh không này, con cũng trong mười phương tánh không này. Mà vì con tạo một cái nghiệp vô biên, một cái vô minh khởi lên, mình nó biến bao nhiêu nghiệp tới ngày hôm nay. Thì trong này nó chữ manifest đó, có phải là tại mình vô minh mà mình từ trong cái tánh không đó mà mình tạo như chỗ này nói không? Mình tạo cái nghiệp lên trong tánh không cho nó hiện ra cái sắc tướng mình, hoặc là hiện thành con rắn, con rồng, hoặc là chư thiên. Cũng là Phật hết, cũng là sắc tức thì không hết á. Có phải vậy không?
So, Master, I have a question that in the Great Compassion Repentance, there's a part that, so right here in this part, it says Vairocana Buddha is like the empty nature. And then in the Great Compassion Repentance, there's a part that say the Buddha of the 10 directions are in the emptiness nature, and then because living being, because of one thought of confusion, that we create countless of offenses. So in the emptiness nature, and then we create offenses. So that's why it has different type of manifestation. It's kind of like a form. For example, the snake, the dragon, the human, or the heavenly being, and so forth. So is that like similar to form is also emptiness, and emptiness is also form?
It's too complicated to put it that way. Basically, let me simplify the concept for you. Everything you see is created by our own thoughts, including your body, including the dogs, including the cats, including anything you see here is created by our own karmas, our own thoughts. Okay? And these thoughts have been accruing since beginningless time. So the thoughts eventually materialize into something called your body, something called the camera, something called a church. It's because we have thoughts of confusion. That's why these things are real to us. They're created by us. We create those thoughts, and that's why we believe our own thoughts. That's all. So in the Shranga Sutra, it says the rivers, the mountains, the valleys are created by thoughts. Everything we see in this world were started as a thought from our stupidity, from our confusion, including gods, including human beings. Okay? It's only through the Buddhist practices are you able to undo those states of confusion, okay, and open your wisdom, open your four wisdom. The wisdom of perfect mirror wisdom, wisdom of equanimity, wisdom of wonderful observing wisdom, and the wisdom of accomplishing what is done. If you don't open those four wisdoms, you continue to create more confusions for yourself. That's all. Okay? And that's what it says. And that comes from your Buddha nature. Your Buddha nature has everything. And because you give rise to a thought, okay, that's how these things become materialize themselves. So for example, we gave examples of love, example of hate. Devadatta, the arch enemy of the Buddha, he had this thought, he nurtures this thought of hatred towards the Buddha, the thought of wanting to kill the Buddha. So therefore, life after lifetime, he chases after the Buddha. When the Buddha came to our world, became a human being here, Devadatta then, because of the thought of hatred, also became a human being in order to chase after the Buddha to kill him, to try to kill him. Lifetime after lifetime, he waited and waited for the Buddha, for the chance to get at the Buddha. Similarly, if you love somebody, it's the same thing. You wait lifetime after lifetime to chase after your woman, your man. Okay? Is that clear? So that's why along the way, you have all these ramifications because you wanted to court her and she happened to like sports car, so you get a red car. You get a red car. You see? So you have all these ramifications. And your husband also likes to have massages, so you create something called massage tables, massage oil. You understand? That's how life comes about, and you create something called, because you like, to fly, you create something called God. God flies. You know that. Okay? And also God likes to ride horses. So you have horses. See, it comes from us wanting these things. The thoughts of desires creates our world. So we add more confusion on top of confusions. Okay? That's why it says, manifest the clouds of bodies. All these manifestations originated from the Buddha's Dharma body. That's how it came about. Okay? With boundless deeds and functioning. So boundless deeds meaning that you're talking about the Buddha manifesting a dog to do a dog's work, Buddha manifesting as a snake to do next work, a human being do human beings' work. Okay, that's boundless deeds and functionings. Is that clear? Because they're completely universal formation, meaning that Buddhas, Bodhisattvas in particular, when they cultivate, it hurts, huh? Yeah. When they cultivate, okay, they cultivate everywhere, not just here. They cultivate in every single space in the universe. That's why it takes a long time. You realize that? You can say, people say, hey, can you hurry up and help me become enlightened? Yes, I can help you become enlightened, but then eventually after you become enlightened, you need to go and cultivate all over the universe. You don't want to wait too long. It takes a long time to become a Buddha. Buddhas become a Buddha because they cultivate everywhere. Don't be so narrow-minded. Say, I only want to be in the Pure Land. I only want to be in the heavens. No, you have to cultivate everywhere. It says right here. So don't reject anything. Buddhas, as I would put it, are very international. They are not just Koreans. Okay? They're not just Chinese. They practice everywhere. They are Koreans, they are Chinese, they are primarily Vietnamese. Okay? You know that already. Okay? So that's why you embrace everything. That's what wisdom is about. Does it help? Buddhas, they are everywhere. Don't be too narrow-minded, okay? Next, 156. The sutra says, just as one sees the Buddha sitting in this place, in each and every dust, most of dust, it also that way, and so forth. This is just not just one such passage.
经云：如于此处见佛坐，一切尘中亦如是等，其文非一。
Okay, so he says, on the commentary in 157, it says, throughout this Avatamsaka Sutra, you will see plenty of examples, okay, that wherever you see the Buddha sitting there, you see a Buddha sitting in every single dust mote in the universe. That's called pervasion of place. Okay, it's not just this place here in the Saha world. For you, temporarily, we tell you, oh, you know, it's so hard here, go to the Pure Land. But eventually, when you go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, you have to learn about the truth here. Okay, that Amitabha Buddha Pure Land is also everywhere as well. You need to practice everywhere as well. You don't just say, I stay in the Pure Land, I become a Buddha. You still need to go back to all over Saha world, you know, a different world to practice as well. Is that clear? So that's why the low-level people, we tell them, go to the Pure Land. So they said, they hear the teacher, so they said, I'm never coming back. Don't say that. Okay? Because you have to come back to practice here. And then not only you have to come back here, you also have to go all over to practice as well before you become a Buddha. Does it help? This is a true Pure Land Dharma door we're telling you, not just the low-level Dharma door where people are suffering so much, so desperate, or people, whether you're Catholic or you're Christian or you're Buddhist, you have to practice everywhere in order to open your ultimate wisdom. Can't discriminate. Okay? So it says in particular in this slide here, 157, it says here, when you see the Buddha, when they talked about the Buddha speaking the Flower Adornment Sutra under the Bodhi tree, she's actually speaking it everywhere as well. All right? Every single dust mode. Okay? And that's how it's called the wonderful functioning of the Buddha nature, or your nature. Okay? And therefore, when you think about it, this is true to the teaching. It says the Buddha body does not go, does it come, and yet it appears every single country at the same time. This is the inconceivable state, more than we mortals can possibly comprehend. Okay? And that's why I said earlier, the people with high IQs and the geniuses, they fail to understand this, and that's why they're confused. Okay? That's it. Thank you all. We stop here. Next time we pick up from 158. That's what. Be open-minded. The sutra, this is. I love this sutra because when I first started, I said, I just want to learn Chan. I have no interest in anything else. Buddhism, I don't care. Enlightenment, I don't care. I just want to learn to meditate. And then I stumble upon the sutra, and I'm so grateful to Master YongHua because it enables me to see the limitation in my mind. You know, you're so narrow-minded, and you think it's cool. You think you're so smart. Actually, you have to let go. And the sutra here is so beautiful because it enlarges our mind. It talks about concepts that we never thought possible because our own limitations, our own discriminations. We do it to ourselves. No one else's.